From the shadows of the National Palace to the muddy trenches of politics, this is the pigsty, the pig pen of dirty politics. How's it going, my dear residents of this foul but always entertaining neighborhood called Mexico? Welcome to another episode of your favorite corner of political filth. Here, where the mud reaches our necks but laughter is never lacking, your not-so-humble, untrustworthy host, Camerano, greets you, broadcasting from the depths of the pigsty, the pig pen of politics. Get out the disinfectant because today we're going to wade through binational incompetence. Hold on to your underwear, ladies and gentlemen, because it turns out that in El Paso, Texas, there was a commotion like something out of the best alien movies. Let's get to the action. Get comfortable in your mud of choice, because today the filth comes with wings. You already know that here we don't buy into stories or alternative facts. Get ready because the sky is falling on us. And here they keep saying they don't have any information. We begin while you worry about the price of basic goods. The most powerful country in the world decided that the sky over El Paso, Texas, was a war zone. And no, it wasn't a leak from an influencer looking for likes. It turns out that the FAA, the Federal Aviation Agency for those who don't speak English, decided to close the airspace over El Paso, activating national security protocols and grounding planes, like they were flies. The reason? Mexican cartel drones. Look at that. They cut off traffic like it was the Beltway at rush hour. The Pentagon was playing electronic war games to stop the cartel drones. Because of course now the guys from the cartel don't just use tunnels, now they're aeronautics experts and send over 1,000 drones a month to greet their cousins up north. But here comes the narrative of, I don't know, I didn't see, I wasn't there. Because what's truly fascinating about this tragicomedy isn't that the cartels have cutting-edge technology, which we already know they do, but rather the response from our brand new manager at the National Palace. While in Washington they were talking about neutralization and national security, here the response was no. We don't have any information to confirm that. Give me a damn break, oh chachas, let's see if they check your Wi-Fi. Because the United States Department of Homeland Security says there are 300 flyovers a day. Either the drones are invisible, or in the fourth transformation, they're using cardboard binoculars. While in Washington they were scratching their heads, the analysts at Cable News Network were already pulling out maps for the invasion. A certain Juliette Cayenne, a former Obama official, came out and said very proudly, if we were going to enter Mexico, this is how we would start. Such elegance, like that of France. Basically, they were telling us to block the way. It's the intro to the war movie they want to prescribe to us when Washington defines the narrative. Mexico is already losing by a landslide. If the threat was real and they didn't know in Mexico, we have an intelligence problem the size of a cathedral. And if they knew and pretended not to say acted dumb, then the problem is a diplomatic cowardice that's frightening. El Paso isn't just any small town. It's the logistical hub of the border. Closing its airspace is like putting a tourniquet on the main artery of binational trade. But the gringos didn't care. For them, the message was clear. Their criminal organizations are no longer just a problem in the mountains. They're now a transnational threat. What these bureaucrats don't understand is that in international politics, whoever controls perception controls the game. And today, the perception on social media and in the halls of Washington is that Mexico is the source of the chaos. They're painting a pretty picture of us abroad, but here comes the best part, the crown jewel of bureaucratic stupidity. The airspace closure lasted less than it takes a politician to switch parties, just 2 hours. Why? Because it turns out the Department of Homeland Security was playing around with a high-tech laser gun. Yes, you heard that right? They wanted to test it. Their disintegrator beam against the cartel drones detected a threat. They fired all their electronic gear and took down the unidentified flying object. And surprise, it wasn't a flying shipment of fentanyl or a spy drone from Mencho. And here's something that's been spinning around in my head. According to what's been said publicly, it was a party balloon. Do you guys really think Trump would spend millions of dollars to win a war against a children's party? I'll leave you with that question to think about. And all of this is because of the ghost of terrorism, and it's not the one from the tax office. This is where things get complicated, my friends. This drone incident doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens just as the United States insists on fighting Mexican cartels designated as terrorists by that government by any means necessary. Do you know what that means? It's not just a name change. It's giving the Americans legal permission to use financial and cyber tools. And surprise, surprise, extraterritorial military operations. This so-called drone fiasco is pure fuel for Trump. Every time a drone crosses the border, the word sovereignty in Mexico becomes weaker and more transparent. The most striking thing about all this is the asymmetry. We have a United States that acts preemptively, even if sometimes they shoot at party balloons, as they've said, and a Mexico that responds afterward and with hesitation. That disconnect sounds like a total breakdown in bilateral security. This disorder is what forces us to pay attention, my dear pigs, because if these guys can't agree among themselves, imagine when a drone from Michoacan or Guerrero, where they're already using them to drop explosives like confetti, crosses the line, and an American with a nervous finger on the laser trigger decides it's time to pacify the backyard. Or could it be that this is what they're really looking for? I mean, because there are plenty of excuses. If there's as much coordination as they say in the morning briefings, how come we find out from the media that our neighbor locked the door with a padlock? The image of control by the Mexican government is crumbling faster. A cookie and hot coffee is no longer a statistic from a secretary. It's an operational act that affects global air traffic. In the world of high politics, a vacuum gets filled. And since Mexico doesn't fill the vacuum with solid information, Washington fills it with a risk narrative. There may not be American troops in Tijuana tomorrow, but the legal ground is shifting toward an intervention that a few years ago would have sounded crazy. When the sky closes out of fear of what comes from the south, the relationship is no longer about cooperation without subordination. Like Chachis always says, it's about unilateral containment. And in that movie, we're not the directors, we're the villains who don't even know they're being filmed. What is the fact is that Mexico is still Washington's favorite toy for Trump and his friends. Mrs. Claudia is a socialist who ignores the narco-terrorists. They see us as the #1 problem. The misstep at the crossing. It wasn't a technical error, it was a warning. Are we just one miscalculation, one poorly calibrated drone, or one lost helium balloon away from giving them the perfect excuse to unleash hell? Father, well, my pigs, there you have your dose of harsh reality. Reality surpasses fiction once again in this pigsty we call the world. I'm going to leave before a laser beam from the Trump administration mistakes me for a flying object, unidentified because of the size of my belly. Don't forget to share this because in the palace they prefer silence, but here we love the noise. This is Che Morano signing off. Don't forget to take a shower, even if it's with holy water, because politics is really dirty. See you next time for another mudslinging session here at the Pigsty, the pig pen of politics. Luis Berman, turn off the camera and pass me a mezcal, because analyzing the surrender of sovereignty makes you really thirsty. Goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye. This is the Pigsty, the pig pen of politics with Che Morano.